Hello and welcome on Watches TV, and today we have the pleasure of having Mr. Pierre Biver here to talk about the new collection introduced by the Biver brand. So thanks, Pierre, for dropping by.
Thank you for having me. I'm very glad to be in your office space for the first time, so it's a real pleasure.
Fantastic. So let's jump into it. You started with the Biver brand with kind of the pinnacle of mechanical watchmaking in terms of complex mechanisms. And now you're coming with something a little bit more subtle, let's say, with a three-hander.
Exactly.
So tell us all about it.
So I think it's, from a retrospective point of view, I think we opened up the chapter 1 of the brand's history with, as you say, something that was very complicated with the carré en tourbillon, something where we could expand on our quality, expand our knowledge, gain experience, build an atelier capable of working at that level. And this was what we intended from the get-go. And with this second chapter opening up, we're really establishing the brand, its design identity, and the philosophy of what we're trying to accomplish and where we want to go. To speak more broadly about what this release means for us as a company, and we'll dive specifically into the watches later. It's our first proprietary movement that was developed by Dubois Depraz for us, which will be our base caliber for, I hope, many number of years, with obviously some upgrades planned in the future. But this really symbolizes the start of where we want to be as a brand with our proprietary movements, not necessarily developed by us, but movements that are made with our specs, in our vision, that respect our vision of horology and how we want to make them and what kind of utility they will have in the future. And this is something that you'll find recurrent in the brand's future. It's also a smaller diameter, closer to our vision of what design should be. It's also a refinement from the first collection. I think that in a sort of quest for honesty and transparency, you can never get everything right in the first place. There's always some fine-tuning, and I still hope that in 10 years' time, the watches will even be better than today. In 20 years' time, they'll be better than in 10 years. So it's an interesting learning curve, and we're super excited because this, for a technical point of view, I would say also for a commercial point of view, but even for a community building point of view, is very interesting because it's a product that will be able to produce more, that will be on more wrists, and this will also help the brand establish itself with its own living community, and we know how that is important within the independent watchmaking space.
For sure. So before talking about some of the specificities on the technical level, in particular the movement, of course, can you tell us a little bit what was the design's objectives with this new collection?
It was to really expand upon what we did with the miniature Peters. So, for instance, the case shape is obviously proportioned to the movement. It's closer to our initial case design, but it's basically the same. But then in terms of dial design and movement design, we really took things in a direction that we feel will become ours, with, if we talk about the movement aesthetic, some very interesting tension between bridges that have sort of this traditional shape, but at the same time decoration that feels very contemporary. This is what we're trying to achieve. Always this tension between our love for the past, but still making products that are of today, of the 21st century, and with respect to the technology that we have today, what we can do, the quality we can achieve. And in terms of dial design, we also try to split up a bit the possibilities with the Atelier series, which channels all our love for stone dials, very refined, kind of understated luxury in a way, very subtle and for a certain type of collector. And with these gold dials, which is a first for us because we've only worked or mainly worked with stone in the past, which channels more of that vintage aesthetic that we love, yet keeping something very special to us. As you'll see, it's a gold dial, but we have some vertical brushed finish with circular satin finish as well. Some little details on the indices, on the minute track. Altogether, we really wanted to go down a route where we can really show where we come from, what we like in terms of what inspires us in terms of vintage watches, and also where we want to go and how we want to distinguish the Biver identity for it to really live on. And not repeat the past, and not necessarily try to get into some fields of design where we know that some people are doing a much better job, they've been doing it for longer, and it's not us. So I would say the design is an honest design, honest interpretation of what we see is high-end watchmaking, and it's also the natural evolution from what we've learned of the first release and what we can do better, what we should do better, and how we take things forward.
Yeah, and one can really feel that you wanted to have a piece that you can really play with light. I mean, there's a lot of things happening when you just move around with it. Was that also kind of a clear intention?
Definitely, we wanted to create, particularly on those two pieces, a watch that can live along with its collector. It also can be feeling the technical aspects, being a micro-rotor, an automatic watch, the waterproofness of the case. We really tried to build this kind of everyday watch, but that everyday watch that gives you emotions each time you look at it on the wrist. The play of light is something very important for us. It's something that throughout the case, the dial, the hands, the movement, and even when we have the metal bracelet, you can feel it, because one of our main design cues is playing a lot with contrasting finishes. So the case is satin and polished. You have round angles and straight lines. The hands similar with the satin flat part and then the polished bevels. This tension with light is something that's very important to us because it should always be a pleasure to look at your watch. It should never feel a dull experience.
And on the movement side, you have a zero reset function when you pull the crown. Generally, when you use this kind of mechanism is because you emphasize on the chronometrical dimension of the watch. Tell us what was again there the objectives for you guys.
So it's a bit counterintuitive because what you're saying is very true. Yet our brand, again, as a wish to be transparent and honest, it's never been a focus of ours to be focused on chronometry. Again, some brands do a great job at doing that, and it's not necessarily our calling. These watches have chronometrical standards that are a minimum the same as the COSC. With watchmakers that we have in-house, we know they love to get the maximum levels, and all the watches leave the factory with a certain ticket. Yet the zero reset function, I would not say it's because of that. It's more because we have an opinion that a watch needs to be lively, and it's always interesting to have a second hand because it gives a certain aspect of movement. This was also the case for our open exposed tourbillon on the miniature Peter. My father loves the fact to have movement on his watch to see that it's working. It might seem a bit weird, but that's why we included it. But then in our vision of autology, if you have a second hand on your watch, I don't think it's fitting that when you pull the crown, the hand stops at a random point or even continues. So it's part of a vision that if we have a second, it has to have a zero reset.
Yeah.
It's small details, but that in our vision make it high in quality. I would not say it's specifically for the chronometrical aspect of it, but we will aim to have the best chronometrical results.
Well, and another little goodie is that obviously it's a kind of a reminder that the crown is pulled if it doesn't work. So
exactly.
It's a nice little add-on.
What I would say though, and maybe your viewers or yourself can correct me because I've not done any research about that, or I'm not 100% sure. I feel it's something that's been going around like in the industry. One of the interesting facts is that we put a central seconds when usually a petite seconde is found more often on watches that are made by independents, etc. And our idea of a central seconds was also because we had the feeling that historically, small second hands have often been found on manual wound movements, and when we came onto automatic watches, the seconds moved to the center with a central second. So I'm not sure how true that is, but this was one of the design points that we said, oh, we're doing an automatic watch, so then we need a central second.
And actually, I mean, having a central second is actually more complex than having a small second. Small seconds, some people think it's okay, well, oh, this kind of a neat, this is something. But actually, it's simpler to construct. So that was just for a little information. Coming back on the different executions that you're proposing now, walk us through a little bit, because here we have two models, but there are further models, right?
Exactly. So to talk about the ones that are not here, in French there's a saying who says les absents ont toujours tort. I don't know how we can translate that. The absents are always wrong.
Yeah.
We have the Atelier series, which is a small series we decided to make to keep in touch with our origins, with those stone dials and this, I would not say more refined because that's not the right term, but some, working on dials that have a particular feel to them, that are stone, that will be enamel, that will have some particularities in the way they're made. And this series will always be kind of our exclusive series that we offer as a company, with always 18 watches produced of each iteration, never doing the same dials. It's kind of this little bubble amongst the collection where we can expand on super creative ideas and make things that are a bit more contemporary in a way. And then we have I don't like to call it regular, we call them gold series because over time they will always be gold dials, which is a more not down to earth, but a more subtle collection where we put emphasis on channeling aesthetics from vintage watches. In this case with tone-on-tone watches for the platinum and the rose gold, with this very nice and very straightforward finishing. And the idea is that those will evolve. Those are a limited series as a first series, but then from 2020, 25 and 25. Okay. And then in 2026 onwards, we'll come with iterations of Series 2, which will then be more of a catalog piece for these series, still expanding on the same design language with that kind of sector-ish dial, but maybe with little touches of different finishes, maybe some other colorways, etc.
The two models here are actual prototypes, and the first first models to be found on the market are coming a little bit later this year, right?
Yes, in December.
In December.
We have this objective that for all our collectors that wish to have a nice Christmas present, it can be under the Christmas tree.
Okay.
And yeah, they're prototypes. In fact, I don't know if you'll see it, but again, fun fact, the rose gold piece will come with the rose gold buckle. Okay. In this case, it's just unfortunate lead times in suppliers.
That's okay. And previously, I mean, we had the chance of following up a little bit the establishment of the company, starting from zero basically. When the first time we came, there was like nothing in the.
Many people don't believe us when we say that. Yeah. They're like, don't exaggerate it. But you've been there, so you're one of the witnesses we can use in a trial if we need to. Absolutely,
absolutely. So how has the company evolved since then?
It grew. Obviously, it grew within the Atelier, also to prepare for what's to come, with now 3 watchmakers and 4 decorators, with new objectives in mind. Initially, we took watchmakers and decorators that had experience, that could work on our products, that could help us grow the Atelier. And now we have our first recruit, which is a young watchmaker that just finished watchmaking school. He showed us his school watch. We fell in love, and he wanted to learn more about decoration, so now he's working with us. Otherwise, we have a little logistics department, we have a bit more marketing, or let's say digital content, which my brother-in-law does. We have James Marks, who joined us as the new CEO of the company, which is an amazing recruitment, if I say that. I love sports, so I like to speak as we're a team. And he's joined, and it's proving to be super interesting. He's now been, at this time we're recording this interview, a month in the job.
And furthermore, I mean, you have a special relationship with him.
Yes, he's my mentor. He's my spiritual father. He's somebody that I'm very close to. Share a lot of the same visions on life in general, not only watches. And it's very interesting because now we have, between my father and I, also ability to focus on more specific details. For me, it's the design, the production, and the technical aspect of what we do. And for my father, it's traveling around, meeting collectors, giving the impulsion for what we want to do as a company.
Excellent. Well, thank you for dropping by. Thank you for being so transparent. And well, wish you the best with this new collection.
Thank you so much.
All right. See you guys. And of course, Viva Watchmaking!